Okay, and so today we're going to be doing the fuse episode. So we've got three main types of fuse that we use. This is your safety fuse, I believe also called Visco or Cannon fuse, which apparently really likes the other one at the second. This stuff burns, I would say, a medium fast. It's really easy to light on the ends, but very hard to light in the middle. And so this stuff is really what's going to be the thing that we light in every situation. We're never going to light one of the other types of fuse. So this, you're going to need a lot of it. It's good if you want to tie two together with a slight delay. You can use this. As far as I know, you have to buy this stuff. This is our slow form of fuse. This is time fuse. It is about a 1/4 inch diameter. Whenever you cut it open, then you got a really thick shell here with kind of your inner layers. You probably really can't see that because it's hard to show, but it's kind of a core of specifically timed fuse. Now, we've got this kind of in an hourglass shape. That we will explain that here in a little bit. This, again, I believe you have to buy. I don't think we can make it. This is your slowest burning, I believe, at about 4 seconds per inch-ish. So, you know, so much of it is a 4-second delay. Now, what's important about that is every time you get a new roll or a new batch of time fuse, you need to test it because we need to know exactly how long it's going to burn. So now this is quick match. Quick match burns fast. I could light one end of this fuse. You know, this fuse is not short. The torch off. It is literally more than my arm. See if I can figure out my video editing to and this entire thing here would go faster than you can blink. I had 2 feet made that mistake of this fuse, and I thought, you know, I could get out of the way. No, the answer was no. So it has 3 strands of this stuff called blackmatch in here. So really, this is the one we can make blackmatch and we can make quick match. Or you can buy quick match and you can harvest the blackmatch out of it by cutting it open. That's really a personal preference for your first year making fireworks. I do suggest just harvesting it out of this because we can use this, but today's video is going to be showing how to make it. So the first thing we'll go over is how to test the burn time of our time delay fuse. So you can see I've cut about a 1/2 inch into this side, and then I've cut about a 1/2 inch into this side. We have exactly about, well, that's a poor example. We've got right at about 1 inch between the cuts. So that is going to tell me how long this takes to burn. So you do want to kind of stay centered. If you go off center a little bit, it's okay, as long as you're touching the core. So we're actually going, that stuff is very hard to get to burn, so we have to fuse it. We have to add a fuse to our fuse. So we're going to take quick match. In this case, I'm just doing a little bit. This is a test. If it was in a firework, I would use bigger pieces, probably literally twice this long, because we've got 1 shot and I want it to work. So you get all your bundle here to one side. You stick your quick match or your black match down inside the time fuse and pinch it. And then taking a little bit of sewing thread, you just tie whatever basic knot you want in here. Through the magic of video editing, I did this right the first time. There is definitely an art form to doing this. And unfortunately, because it is so small and my fingers are so big, it is actually very hard to show. But I'm just going for a basic bowline knot here. I can pull it down fairly far, pinch it. Now where I want to tie the end of this, stab it down in there, pull this one tight. That's technically good, but it never hurts to double knot it. because I do not want it coming loose. And now that I've pissed off some deity with my effigy, you could trim your string if you want this to look pretty. This is really the best way because inside of a firework, space is really a premium. Now you can see when the fire touches our quick match, it passes the ignition into the center of our time fuse here, which will then come out the other side where we would do this again to spread the fire out. So again, disposable razors are the winning solution here. Because I'm not actually fusing anything with this, I am just going to be testing it. I'll cut it off flush there at my 1-inch mark. And that way I light this, I watch it burn, and I time how long till I see fire come out the end. That will tell me how long each inch of this fuse will burn. And you can see ever so slightly over 1 inch, so that is a good test. You can use a stopwatch or you can use a video, because the video you can watch back later and figure out exactly. So now that we've gone over how to time our fuse, we're gonna go into how to make the black match. So, about the only unordinary tool here is I've got the end of a caulking tube. I cut the end of it off, cut an 1/8 inch hole in the far side of it, and then I glued it back in here so that I can hold on to this and pull my fuse through, and this will wipe off the excess. So we've got some nice cotton string here. And this is just something you can buy at Home Depot. The only important part is we want it to be 100% cotton. And it helps if it's not in a knot where I was measuring it. Professional quality, I swear. And then we do actually need a drying rack. So obviously we'll be able to wrap this around here, stop it from touching each other, because we don't want it sticking when it dries. And this we will actually be coating in wax. I already use paraffin wax for firework making, so we've already got a use for it. And then we've got a nice deep bowl here that we can use for the priming. So essentially what we're gonna do is we're going to make a batch of black powder with dextrin. We're going to add as little water as we can because we want it to be like a pancake batter consistency. Dip our string into it, pull it out, and then wrap it around our rack here to dry. And that will be finished black match. So, you know, we have fun around here. And before I commit heresy, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Use the coaster like you were raised with manners. And then we also have these giant blocks of paraffin wax. Now you'll notice there's actually a chunk gone here. That is because the paraffin wax will be used for rockets, which will probably be an episode soon. 4th of July is coming up. I need to start making some. So, here we already know our recipe: potassium nitrate, charcoal, sulfur, dextrin. You can add a little CMC. That's actually what the chemical is called. It helps it stick to it a little bit better. We'll be doing this one without. Now, for about every 18 feet of black match you're making, you need about 4 to 6 ounces of black powder. But we do want a little bit extra because we don't want it to run completely dry on us. That would make life lots and lots of fun. So here we've got about 16 feet of string, I believe it was. Take the big bag of meal grade. If you watch the black powder video, you know what meal grade means. So in this case, we're gonna go for about 10 ounces. So pretty good amount, really. Or until the bowl is full, depending on how this goes. And if the dust bothers you or you don't have a pretty good fan, you can always wet it down with some water. And by just misting it a little bit, that will help it keep the dust down. Again, normally wear a mask because these dusts in your lungs is an irritant. And for the love of God, don't go to an airport anytime soon. So, you know, actually, since I think I did 16 feet, we could probably get away with a little bit less. We'll go down to 8, and if we need to, we can always add. But once it's got water in it, then there's no takesies backsies. So put this back where it come from. So now we've got our 10 ounces black powder. As always, mixing stick. So now, what we need is boiling hot water, but obviously we do not want an open flame around here. Easiest way, go inside, put a cup or something in the microwave, and get the water to boil, bring it out here and add it. Again, it's easy to add more, it's impossible to take away. So we're going to add nice and slowly, and we're gonna go get the boiling water. Okay, back with our measuring cup of boiling water. Now again, this is gonna be a less is more kind of situation. We're looking for pancake batter consistency. Now, the reason for boiling water is like with our stars, where we use Parlon, and Parlon is activated by acetone, so it, becomes a putty, and when it dries, it'll be rubber. The black powder uses dextrin. The dextrin is activated by hot water. So we use, it's got to be hot water. So we get it actually boiling, and I don't know if the camera's going to see that, but it is actually still bubbling, or still steaming, whatever. Yeah, we use that super hot water because that gets the dextrin to break down and become liquid, and then it's just a binder. So whenever our black powder dries, then the dextrin will basically make it hold its shape. The other advantage here is you always want to wet down your black powder because the potassium nitrate is water soluble, where the sulfur and the charcoal are not. So by getting it wet or using hot water, we can dissolve the potassium nitrate in there, and then it gets absorbed by the coal because coal is hydrophilic. And then you've got, instead of just your potassium nitrate and your charcoal being mixed powders that are mixed together, then you end up getting, it's bonded kind of at a molecular level. There is no better way to mix it. There really isn't. However, it should be said, be very careful, because I would be willing to bet right now that bowl is hot as fuck. And oh, I got burned because I was making fireworks. Sounds kind of cool. Oh, I got burned by boiling hot water while I was making fireworks. Everyone is going to have a lot of really awkward questions. That may work. Scrape off my super advanced. Yeah, see, that is sticking on there pretty well. It's doubling the thickness of my stirring stick. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure, damn good and sure, that our string is not tangled, because that would be a very interesting day. So now, you'll notice your string is actually light enough to sit on the batter. So we're going to try to poke it down in there, get it all well incorporated. you know, we're gonna do some speed dating, make sure that they get to know each other. How does that meme go? Hi, how are you? Good, and you? And the guy just like keeps sticking his whole ass nose in a wine glass. So the main thing here is that we do want to drown our string more or less, but we want to avoid tangling it at all costs. Remember, we could probably get away with using the knot. Oh god, here's all the furries in the comments. Don't use the knot like that. But it's not going to look as pretty. It's not going to lay as flat. And one of the big things in making fireworks is space inside the shell is at a premium. So we want to save it where we can. Remember, there's a limited volume inside the shell. It's not getting any bigger. Well, the thing with that is we want to use as much of that space for stars as possible, because stars are the pretty thing. The more room you have to dedicate to fuses or whatever, the less room there's going to be in there for those fireworks. And a fireworks without any stars in them is kind of fucking pointless. So one of the big reasons for using cotton string is that cotton will burn fairly well and it burns cleanly. So if cotton burns, nothing's left. I'm gonna spin this bowl because I realize I keep adding all my string to the same spot. But that's going to work in our favor. The other really big catch is any kind of synthetic string is going to melt and not burn. But also, like I said, we're not only coating the outside of it in essentially black powder, and that's where our dextrin comes in, is holding it to the outside, but we're also going to be impregnating the string because the cotton will absorb water, and like I said, this water is currently full of potassium nitrate. So it's going to get our string to burn better, it's going to burn completely, and it'll burn clean without, you know, little molten drops of plastic falling from the heavens onto any, you know, orphans and their candy bars, I guess. I don't fucking know. Don't make Batman. We do not need another Batman. So, I'm going to do is stupid. Scrape it all down. I'm just gonna try to mix as much as I can without a twisting motion so that I'm not knotting up my string while it's in there. And I'm going to try to get as much of my string in here as possible. Leave me a little tail to keep working with. And we will give that a second to sit down in there and marinate real good. So now we take your giant block of paraffin, keep saying Parlon, and just gonna apply it liberally to the, listen here, liberal. So the aluminum is a non-porous material. So anything we stick on here isn't going to stay. So we don't really have to worry about contamination or, you know, making a component of our drying box very, very flammable, which would make a lot of things really interesting. But the problem, and of course it can't absorb black powder. The big problem is that when it dries, it can stick. And it'll probably stick to whatever the hell it's touching. So by putting on a pretty good coating of our paraffin wax here, we're not only making it so that it's not so much about whatever we touch getting the black powder, it's more of our string losing the black powder. We did all this damn work, you know, we don't want it to come undone. Ow. I just smacked myself with a block of wax. So, seems pretty well coated. Hopefully it won't stick, and you can see I just drilled holes on this side and then started to drill holes in that side, and this one split right down the middle, so it got glued because I wasn't doing it a second time. So we take our end here, remember, we put it through our basically our sizing die here. See if we can get it to go through. No. Aha. Thread the needle. And now, before we start, pulling, we're just gonna tie this on here. Basic bitch knot, doesn't have to be anything fancy. We just do not want it to come off. Start at one end, and then holding our cone here, keep it somewhat tensioned. I'm just going for 1/2 inch spacing, really. I want all of my strands to be about 1/2 inch away from each other. Should give me plenty of room. And I think this is a little bit tighter than when I measured it out, because I did actually just measure it out by wrapping the string around the I literally measured out the string by wrapping it around this frame. But this time I'm trying to get my spacing a little bit tighter, just to make sure I don't run out of room. And you can kind of see the massive globs of black powder that are sticking to the string versus the nice, uniform, pretty looking stuff that is being wrapped around the rack. So you can see that the dextrin is doing nicely, getting a nice thin coating. And if you're stripping too much off of the string, you can always make your opening a little bit bigger. Slidey that over. You can make the opening on your nozzle a little bit bigger. I have heard of another solution, is people taking like baby bottle nipples and poking a hole in that. Yeah. Hey, well that's not gonna be any good to anybody. Good thing it's the end. And we cannot quite get one more wrap out of it, so right here I will tie it to my rack. Try to maintain some degree of tension. If you really wanted to, you could cut that off. I just don't really want to. I don't want to get the black powder over everything. As you can see, we've probably reduced this by about half. If I was smart, I'd wait out the water so we could actually see how much of it is left. I'm just not that smart. but it's still mixed up pretty good. I guess whenever I was measuring out the string for my rack here, I did 1 inch spacing, and now that I've gone back through there and I was aiming for 1/2 inch, it is actually wound a little bit tighter. So this stuff is, for all intents and purposes, still good. Obviously, we are going to be taping a lid onto it because it is liquid burn powder. If you had so little left, or you're using a disposable container, you can just mix this with more water until it gets to the point where you can dispose of it. You know, throw it in a burn barrel. I will actually be putting a lid on this, and it will probably dry in a day or two. With the lid, hopefully not. But I can always put more boiling water into this and remelt it. And if not, I could bust it up into chunks, screen it, and then use it for whatever I need. This is where you find out how good you are at taking off gloves. No editing. No black powder on my hands. I'm that good. And at this point, my bowl has cooled. Now, anybody who did catch the black powder video, which was evidently nobody, don't know why that was, it just fucking no one watched it. The problem with black powder is it must dry quickly. If it dries slowly, the potassium nitrate can actually come out of solution and form crystals. Now, if it's on the outside in crystal form, obviously it did not mix well. And, yeah, that'd be a problem. So we go throw this outside. That's done. So now this goes into a drying chamber, and we will have beautiful black match whenever it's done. This might be abuse to some of you. Let that soak. Instead of dirtying up my fine china like a heathen. So now you may be wondering, well, you said we were going to make black match and quick match. So when do we get to see the quick match? Okay, well, here's your demonstration. Take you a nice healthy piece of wax paper, fold it into about 1/3. Now we're going to take this 1/3 and tape it down. Now what's more important here is that we line up perfectly on this edge. We don't want to tape the two pieces together. We just want to tape that one piece down. And now we take another piece that's slightly shorter. And what we're going to do here is about 1/2 inch stick off of that. And the big thing here is we do not want that sticky edge to touch our paper here. We just want a little 1/2 inch, give or take, sticking out. So now we take our finished black powder. Grade doesn't really matter here, but I don't think it works very well with the meal grade. So it does have to be stuff that you've graded. And we are going to sprinkle this all along Now, spread it all out. Get a nice healthy dose. And now peel up our second piece of tape. Damn it. So now this, you can see we've got a nice little line of gunpowder. It gets kind of sparse at the bottom there. We may actually tear that off. You know what, in that case, actually, I'm gonna start on this end. But we want to fold over as close as we can get to that line of black powder. Just fold over, work your way down. Precision is more important here than speed. If you had 2 brain cells left to rub together, you may actually mark out where your line is going to be. Make your life a little easier. And it's not gonna stick great. I think this is probably actually the reason why we can't use Meal D. And then once you've got it started, fold this back over, like so, to finally close it all the way. And we're just gonna do that all the way down. There are other ways to do it. This is just the way that, you know, I've already got black powder. It's already graded. I already had to have masking tape. So with this, I can make my quick match using other materials that I already had to make. Now, this is definitely not for the faint of heart, because you show up somewhere and you're setting, you know, strips of black powder on fire to use as a fuse, you're gonna get at least a couple looks. So again, don't scare people. Oh God. They will not, in fact, invite you back to the family barbecue. And if you're using wider masking tape than I am, then you can always just keep wrapping until you're out of sticky stuff. So like here, I got a little narrow with it in that finer stuff. So I'll just wrap it back over again for a second time. And you can do this as long as you like. So I just made a short little piece here as a demonstration. If you want 20 feet of it, make 20 feet of it. That's up to you. But this should be almost immediate whenever you burn it. And now, the reason why we didn't tape that edge is now we can peely this up, bring all this back in, and then dump it back into our proper approved container for temporary storage. And that way we have wasted nothing. Because this stuff, you can never have enough granulated black powder. You will go through so much of it. And so again, we have homemade quick fuse, store-bought quick fuse, time fuse, and Canon safety fuse. And then we've got our homemade black match in the drying chamber. So that is our that is going to be today's video for fuses. I will probably start this video with actually me testing the time fuse, because really to go through there and just burn a chunk of every kind of fuse, you'd be sitting through like 2 minutes of just me lighting shit on fire outside. So that's today's video.